Right guys, welcome. Today's video is going to be the very first part of the workshop makeover. But before I get into explaining what my ideas are, I just want to give you a quick look round the workshop as it is now and explain some of the problems that I've encountered throughout the last 2 years of using the space, and then I'll talk about my reasons for wanting to change it. Right, for those of you that aren't aware, my workshop is 16 foot by 8 foot, so quite a small space. And when I finished building it, my initial thoughts were that I needed cabinets to keep some of the stuff that I don't use on a regular basis to stop them getting covered in dust. And that's why I built the cupboards that were down the far end. So after I finished building the workshop, the first thing I actually built inside were these end cabinets. I put 4 along the bottom and I had 4 upper units. I found I only really filled one up and the rest remained empty, so I ended up taking the top ones off, and I've used the MDF from them to make a lot of the tool holders that you've seen on the channel. And if you haven't, go check the videos out. But as you can see from the state of the bench behind me, it's just become a dumping ground for all my bits and pieces, and I can't actually use it even if I wanted to. So over this side I've got my mitre cabinet. This was the second thing I built in this workshop, I think. And don't get me wrong, this works absolutely great. I've got like a passive dust collection system set up, i.e. the bit where this saw is mounted, there's a hole which drops down into this drawer, so when you make cuts, all the dust drops down into this drawer. And I've been using this for about 2 years now, and I've never emptied this drawer, and there's plenty of room. I could probably go on for another 10 years. With the addition of these panels that are attached by magnet catches, that helps to contain all the dust. So as far as the cabinet itself, works great, but after building it I kind of regretted it because I really wanted a better mitre saw set up. So under the mitre saw, got a couple of doors, and this is where I keep my air compressor, and the rest of it is just empty space. You can see a theme going on in my workshop. So over in the corner next to the mitre cabinet is what I call wasted space or dead space. At the moment there's just some bits of old bedside units, some smaller scraps, and I've actually got my Fane dust extractor, which I don't use at the moment because I need a transformer, but that's another story. So this is really unused space. This is one of the main areas in the workshop. This is where my dewalt 7491 table saw sits, and this is the table that I built for it, and this gives me a much bigger area for LiQWYD, and the extra width makes cutting wider material a lot safer. So don't get me wrong, this is a brilliant addition to any shop, but there are a few reasons why I don't like it. So for those of you that have been watching my videos for a while now, you'll probably know that this is where I do most of my assembly work, glue ups, etc. And this part of this table saw table is only just over 3 foot in width by 2 foot. So when I'm working here and I've got all my tools laid out, it's not very practical. You've always got the danger of using the saw and not realising that there might have been a screw or nails or something, and it could have potentially end up in the blade and get flicked up and hit me in the face. So that is another issue, as well as always losing stuff down these gaps and not being able to find it. Another problem you've got is what I call wasted space. Now, under the LiQWYD section of this table, there's all this wasted space where the only thing I really keep here normally is my Henry vacuum, which is utter rubbish, but it's all I've got at the moment. But underneath there is just wasted space. So this entire side of the workshop only has the mitre cabinet and the table saw, which in my opinion isn't a very good use of space. So along this side of the workshop is where I've got my French cleat system and all my various tool holders. Love the French cleat system, love the tool holders. It makes using the tools a lot easier for getting them out and putting them away. So all this will be remaining. I might change the locations around as and when, but the French cleats themselves I absolutely love. So on this side of the workshop I've got my budget Titan planer thicknesser. Great bit of kit for the money I paid, but it's not a tool that I use every time I build something. So what I'm hoping to do is incorporate some clever storage on the opposite side of the workshop for this. Not going to go into too many details because I don't want to spoil it for future videos, but I've got some good ideas. Right, so my basic aim is to eliminate dead space in the workshop, i.e. the corner next to the mitre cabinet, underneath this saw table, and wasted space in cupboards that don't make the best use of the space. So I'm hoping to get rid of this eventually. I want to incorporate storage into the mitre station, build another table which is bigger than the area that I currently use, which can be used as an assembly table, but also when I need the saw I can put the saw up to the table and use it as an outfeed. I want room to add more to the table in the long run, i.e. storage underneath, etc. But I probably haven't got the material to do everything in one go. So I know this ain't going to be easy because of the limited space I've got in this workshop. So I think the first thing I'm going to have to do is dismantle the mitre cabinet. I might take apart the saw table as well, and that way at least I'll have some space to see what I'm working with, and we go from there. Oops. And that is the first part. So before I dismantle the table saw table, I thought it was probably a better idea to start cutting the panels down to their rough dimensions using a circular saw and a straight edge, and then I could actually bring them inside and use a table saw to cut the pieces down to their final dimensions. So to work out my cut list and to get the most out of the few sheets of ply that I had, I used a program called Cut List Optimizer. You basically put in the dimensions of the sheets and how many you've got, then you put in all the dimensions of the panels you want to cut out, and it'll lay it out, giving you the least amount of waste. I'm literally tripping over things at the moment in the workshop because it looks like absolute chaos, so doing anything in here right now isn't easy. So with the first panels cut down to their final dimensions on the table saw, I can now start taking that apart. Right, so mitre cabinet's been dismantled. Majority of the saw table has been dismantled. I'm going to be keeping the lower section, but I've got to make it quite a bit smaller. I'm going to keep it at the same height because it's been a perfect height for me, so I see no reason to change the height. But obviously the way my table was designed, the actual base is a lot wider than it needs to be, so I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller, and I might put some storage underneath, but that'd be one of the last things I do once the mitre cabinets etc are done and I've built the new assembly table. Right guys, well as you can see, my workshop looks like a bomb's at it, but I'm sure it'll all be worth it in the long run. Right, so the plan is I'm going to take a lot of this stuff out the workshop that I don't need in here, and I'm going to store that underneath the lean-to to keep it dry. And that'll also give me more space, and I can start clearing the area where the mitre station is going, and I can start assembling the base units for that. I know this video has been a lot of nothing really, me just taking things apart and cutting a few panels, but I wanted to kind of show you guys the behind the scenes, because YouTube ain't just about building stuff and making things look pretty. You've got all the groundwork that goes in behind the camera, and I kind of wanted to show you what I'm up against throughout the project, so I hope you kind of enjoyed it. In the next video I'm going to be making a start on the mitre station build itself, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you're not already. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Share with your friends, leave a comment. And until the next video, stay safe and you'll see me there.